Yo, yo, what up, guys? Hope y'all doing good because it's time for smoke sesh, baby. Yeah, we in there. I think I smoked one of those already. Let me see. Yeah, let's see if you still got it. Is it good? Staying up, yup, that's me in hood. OG, keep the wood, roll it up, cause you know we bout to blow. Bomb, take it to the head, don't take long. Gotta get lifted up, boom. Take the rip from the head, now I'm just on. Uh, and they can hate, but they don't matter what. We in this building, so we gon' step up and get some knowledge, bruh. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. One more time. Yeah. Smoke sesh. We about to get it up. Roll them up if you got them. Get ready. All right, all right. What's up, everybody? Hope y'all having a good day. Hope everything is going good because without each other, who do we got, right? At the end of the day, we're here. It's time to roll up and smoke up. Thank you to everybody in the building. Thank you to everybody in the building. Everybody that came through, you are appreciated. So I want to start off with today was a long day. Another one. Like our early show, we're going to go ahead and give a shout out to all the people that work overtime. Overtime workers, shout out to you. It is time for smoke sesh. Hopefully I didn't scare anybody away with my little turn up there because we got to be able to have fun and we can't judge each other. Because at the end of the day, what are we doing with our life, right? Who's to say that we don't deserve to smile and laugh? I'm not supposed to be the best rapper in the world. I'm not supposed to be anything other than what I am. I'm me. Cheers to that. But I don't know how many more smoke sessions we're gonna have. Because ultimately, I might stop smoking. I know I've said this before, but it's something that I'm continuously working on. Smoking is like the thing to do, right? So otherwise, um, progress is definitely happening. We are consistently going live, so that's a good thing. Um, we're picking the times. I think the smoke sesh might get smashed into the the conversation because the conversation is that's some serious business. We have some good ones today. We're talking about the existence of God. We were watching the AI debate, atheist AI versus a believer AI. But the believer AI didn't know anything about the Bible, which is crazy. So it obviously lost the logical debate. Because if you don't utilize what the Bible is talking about and claim it as um, historical witness, then it doesn't have any validity. So that's the one thing about the Bible we can't forget. It's a historical document from a Jewish perspective, with all due respect. All right? But we can't stop being who we are And we are creatures of logic, ration, and habit. And if we're used to a certain thing, we will stick to it at all costs, even if it costs our own life. But we're gonna roll this up like we do. We got a little some over here. Earlier we started off with the world's longest ski jump, and dude did that. That was crazy. Was crazy. Um, but I think I want to check out the big escape ramp. This one looks crazy. This one looks insane. All right, so we're gonna give that a look real quick while we roll up and smoke, because the ski one was crazy. I mean, we could rewatch it real quick. I have to speed it up, but this guy, he did that. He was flying. Bro, are you brave enough to take the jump? I'm not. I would pee on myself. And I have a frozen yellow thing down my leg. Like, what?
Flying through the air around 9 to 10 seconds. Actually, the wind is the only thing that can destroy
This
this.
is wild.
Because the speed is so fast and he's staying in the air so long.
All right, hold on. I gotta do this real quick. Out of respect, I'm gonna shout out real quick. Red Bull Squad. They did this one. World's longest ski jump ever. And we're gonna review this for discussion and educational purposes and entertainment as well, with no copyright. Not trying to hurt anybody's feelings or steal their money. So I'm gonna go ahead. All right. This is not our material. We are just
The
reviewing
weather
it.
and the wind
All credit
conditions
goes to
are
Red
extremely
Bull.
important.
Still too much wind for Janne.
I'll be standing there and wave him down with the flag when it's safe to go.
With the wind at the current now, we should not jump.
Out.
Take him off the bar. Too much wind.
I will not let him down when it's, if there's anything wrong.
All
on
right.
this-
So they won't let him
That's
jump if
that's
it's
my
too windy.
responsibility. This breeze will
Yeah,
suck him
that's
down.
a smart move.
Also, more longer he will wait, more stress it is. Yes. Okay, it's getting better. Yeah, let him jump. You can set them.
Okay.
Go up.
You're doing on the gate.
Now it's really good.
Like it's getting better now. I think we should be ready and prepared.
Okay, get ready. Not totally, but almost calm wind. So now it's supposed to be much better chances to fly. You ready? Ready.
3,
Come up,
2,
come up.
1, go.
Go, 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 go.
Nice start.
Estimated distance 175.
Still possible more. Yes.
やばい。これはむずいぞ。これは集中しないとやばいよ。
They're saying that's not far enough.
No problem.
They want to
But
go
then-
bigger.
Being honest, it was not so good jump.
難しいね。難しい。もっと飛
They
びたい
had to dig it out. They built the whole jump too.
Chasing and hunting the
Took
record.
them like
Flag up.
a long time. We could go through the history if we want to. I just want to get some fun stuff. Go, go, go.
He's a little bit late with the timing here.
And that looks
he
crazy.
cannot find the ideal rhythm.
Could you imagine just being in the air like that? Yeah, look at him breathing hard. That was a little short, but he did that.
He's
Look.
losing speed here. Okay. So he's supposed to be more. Yeah.
And those skis are custom.
1, take off.
多分そんな良かった。ジャンプ変えたっす。
That's crazy. This guy's so brave, man.
したいな。
Max one more. Yes.
記録を更新するための最後のチャンス。締めてあげます。
Hey,
あと一本。Okay. 何使う
This is ski flying.
This is keep. Yes. Exactly. He can prepare. He can fly. Fantastic.
yeah, he can fly.
You always ready?
3, 2, 1, go.
I wonder how strong your legs have to be Ooh. Hey, hell yeah. Hey, I'm proud of that guy.
It is a trap bar deadlift, 1 rep max. Those tires on each side of that custom-built Rogue X bar are give or take
All right. This is like the world's strongest man stuff.
110 pounds.
Like these guys are crazy. But I'm not going to get into that one today. That would have to, because it's like an hour long. I would literally have to like get into that because there is a lot when it comes to being a man of strength. You don't have to be huge. You just have to have a core that can endure. Without your core work, you're going to be weak, man. Very weak. But what else do we got over here? We got, this is the one we wanted to
This
watch.
is the biggest skate.
The biggest skate ramp. This is what we wanted to watch. Real quick, we're going to talk a little shit while I roll this up. All right. So I hope y'all day was good. Thank you for coming. You are much appreciated. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the people watching. There be nobody watching. I'll just be up here. So, thank you. I also want to say, not only do I hope your day was good, if it wasn't good, it should get better. We're going to be chilling, roll up, hang out. I was thinking about opening the panel, but I'm not sure. We'll see who comes through. But today, man, more overtime. Shout out to everybody that does overtime. This was the long holidays. This was long week. Everybody was slammed. The weather was crazy. I hope you guys are safe. You know, it's a wild time to be alive right now. So, hey, thanks for being here with us because, we all we got, man. We all we got. Now, where the hell did the lighter go? So we can spark this up while we watch this skate ramp. All right, awesome. Must have dropped it. That sucks. All right, we'll just watch this.
Ramp in the world, and I'm going to attempt to skate down the side of it. I will start from the bottom and work my way up, dropping in from different heights until I can't drop in anymore. This first one is 55, 60, 65, and then 70. From here, the view is kind of weird. But yeah, let's go down. It's higher than any other ramp in the world. See, from here, I have a different perspective. From 55 up, it's gonna be harder and harder. Yeah, it looks gnarly. The ramp was built on the side of a giant building that looks like a quarter pipe. I saw this building late 80s. First thing that came to my mind was like, oh my God, it looks like a quarter pipe. So since that time, I had a dream somehow someone skating on this building.
I knew about that building because people kept taking photos of it and tagging me in social media. Like, Tony Hawk, you skate this. And when I heard that Sandro was maybe gonna drop in on it, it seemed unreal.
The two biggest challenges I will face will be G-force and high speeds. When I change the radius, that's the part that's gonna be the strongest G-force in my body. It's gonna be the hardest part to stay on my board, but yeah, I train a lot. I've been training for more.
This is crazy.
Than 6 months to prepare for this. I train G-force.
So one of the big challenges in the building drop are the high G-forces. So we added weights to Sandro's body to simulate the G-forces he will experience on the building drop.
20 kilos on my back. When I go up and up, the G-force is gonna be heavy.
We add another 6 kilo. Total weight Sandro plus will be around 100 kilo.
Yeah, let's go again. And I train high speed.
We needed to test if Sandro could handle the high speeds he will experience on the building drop. So we towed him behind a very fast car, increasing his speed each time until he reached 125 kilometers per hour.
When I go up and up, the speed's gonna be way higher. Train it. Impact.
And then not to forget, he needs to stop. When he gets to the bottom of the ramp, he will be traveling at high speeds, 80 to 90 kilometers per hour. So that's why he needs to crash into an airbag.
Woo.
So in my training, I did everything separate, but I know he is going to be all together in one drop, but I'm ready. I trained for this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right. So he's hyping himself up, and he's up on the top of building training. The reason why he's getting his eyesight used to seeing at that height. This is very, very crazy. This is crazy. All right? Like, for real. Give this man his kudos.
When I heard that Sandro was maybe going to drop in on it, it seemed unreal. It really seemed wild because what's the biggest ramp that's ever been dropped in on? 30 feet?
Now it's more mental than skills, I guess.
The drop you can't.
Dang, Tony Hawk is even like, yo, I got to see this.
Train itself. This is the big challenge where everything acts together.
Yeah.
But being aware that these single parts work, I think this gives you a lot of power.
The only thing that I need to do is put everything together, do the drop, and stay on my board.
Here we have the biggest K ramp ever built. And today we've set up 2 test drops for Sandro to try, starting with 45 meters.
I've been skating for 40 years, but I never skated something like this before. I skate vert. Vert is only 4 meters and 20 centimeters. This is crazy. First drop that I just did, and I'm gonna try the next drop. It's more than a half building. I know it's gonna be way faster because it's 20 meters higher. Let's do this.
You know that hurt.
I think he was too low with his legs. So it seems the G-force, fast changing G-force, that's the reason why he fell.
I am really struggling on the 64 meters.
With the bigger one, he's really struggling. So high speed, pressure distribution, super hard to control the board, in particular when the end of the radius comes, when he goes into the straight.
It's a lot of speed.
85. Every time he falls, it's a harder strain on his body.
I am not sure how high I'll be able to go.
Mentally and physically, it's super demanding what he's doing. Not the success story yet, so it's really hard for Sandro.
The training didn't go as planned. This might be the limit.
There's one thing to go downhill and try to maintain a speed. This is constant increase of speed and G-forces.
Valeu, valeu. Foi bom pra começar.
Even Tony Hawk has to get in on this. He's like, yo, this is wild. This is wild. Man, you got to come back tomorrow or wait till you heal a little bit.
Você consegue terminar.
Era o sonho de qualquer pessoa que passava aqui na frente, ou pelo menos imaginava alguém descendo de skate, sabe? Então, a cidade poder ver isso de perto, sabe? E esse é tipo um sonho realizado para todo mundo do Rio Grande do Sul. Todo mundo que já viu esse prédio alguma vez, sabe? Porque era muito fácil de imaginar, mas extremamente difícil de talvez ser realizado.
Vamos lá.
I am not sure how high I'll be able to go.
He did that first one.
Vamos lá. Eu inventei, eu convenci e eu me preparei.
I bet he had to go up that elevator every time and then come down the pulley every time just to reset.
Agora chegou a hora. Tá tudo pronto, tá tudo muito bonito. Vai que vai dar tudo certo. Vamos lá.
Gotta get used to that.
If I can do 70 meters, that will be the absolute limit that someone could drop on a skateboard. 9 months of training has led to this moment.
How many months? Hold on. How many months of training? 9 months. He's been training for 9 months. 9 months. A whole year of his life at his age. He's probably older than me. And I look so high.
Vamos, agora. Vai. Vamos. Consegui!
Hey, he did it! He did it! Hell yeah!
Meu Deus do céu, consegui! Que isso, que loucura!
9 months. 9 months and he did it.
Que loucura foi isso, meu Deus do céu.
The highest skateboard drop, bro. It took him 9 months. He had to work up each level. That's an old man. Guinness World Record.
50,000
He
Iron
finally
Man versus.
skated the side of that building. He wanted to skate that for a long time. 50,000 Iron Man against, what, 1 million Predators? That'd be an interesting war. We won't do that right now. You guys aren't ready for wars. U.S. Army versus 2 million monkeys. That's funny. That's funny. Such an innuendo right there. But I think I wanted to watch this. But
Get your tickets and come to watch.
right here, this is a crazy man. And we're going to watch this. All right? I hope you guys enjoy it. You are in for a treat. This is for educational purposes. It is still technically Black History Month. Technically, I call it American History Month because Black history is American history. Without further ado,
Get your tickets and come to watch me knock Norton out. I will knock Norton out. Hey,
Shane Norton was a fearsome specimen to watch. Like his whole body's like carved out of a large block of rock.
I don't think it's going to go 15 rounds. I'm not going 15. Charlie doesn't want to go 15. Somebody's going to stop. I ain't quitting.
The year is 1973. Muhammad Ali has been piling up a great deal of bodies on his resume in hopes of getting a shot against the current WBA and WBC heavyweight champion, George Foreman.
all right. Very controversial fight.
He's got the best. After stacking up a neat bunch of wins against former world champions of all different calibers and classes, Ali now has to face Ken Norton, one of the meanest men on the block as far as power, grit, and tenacity goes, who so far has yet to get a monumental win, but is looking to leave an unforgettable legacy behind. Will Muhammad Ali continue his campaign as a new and improved version of himself since taking the first loss of his career? Or will the so-called jawbreaker Ken Norton live up to one of his many nicknames and be the first, if not final, man to physically stop Ali from talking his glorious smack talk with his iconic, devastating overhand right? Let's get into it. Muhammad Ali was in flux, building up to this bout. While once being famous for whooping the scariest heavyweight in history, Sonny Liston, twice in incredible fashion, while being the fastest heavyweight the world had ever seen.
We start saying,
So, Muhammad Ali had speed. That's what he was working with. He was working with speed. He wasn't as powerful as the rest of them.
Pretty. I'm the greatest. Things like that we never said before. And we say them anywhere, and we started looking at ourselves like we were pretty and that we were great because of Cassius Clay.
Ali called himself pretty, and in the ring through the 60s, it was impossible to deny that this man moved with the elegance of a ballet dancer, while landing unassuming shots with more meat behind them than any of his opponents could have expected, leaving many on the canvas, with the rest battered and bruised.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Muhammad Ali has just refused to be inducted into the United States Armed Forces.
The government announces it will.
Oh, so he went to the army.
Constitute felony charges. Mr. Clay's lawyers say they will appeal, and World Boxing
Felony charges. Uh-oh.
organizations announce he has forfeited.
He was probably getting too good and they had to shut that down. You know how it get.
His heavyweight title.
Since returning from exile, Ali had aged in the past 5 years, and while getting spells of his old self wasn't uncommon now, this new Ali was a much more tactical boxing beast rather than the genetic wizard he once was.
He came back just as Muhammad Ali left. Brash, taunting.
I have a lot of speed. I have a lot of endurance. When I'm through with Frazier, he'll need no insurance.
Oh, wow. Oh, so he a rapper now.
Would you say bluntly that Ali is a shell of what he was 5 years ago?
Well, I consider that he's just not the type of fighter Joe Frazier.
Frazier took advantage of the latest style of Ali with his leaping left hook that not even a ninja could avoid for 12 rounds.
I don't think you have another man.
Ooh. You just got knocked down.
Today, that could have went 15 rounds with Joe Frazier. That hard and constant for 15 and take his best and get up, and then also hit him 3 times when he hit me.
Despite being billed as a merc with a mouth and the trash-talking abilities of both Bird and Jordan put together, Ali never made excuses for his failure. And after being beaten by Frazier, Ali never screamed robbery or demanded an immediate rematch. Instead, he went through the gears like any true champion would, fighting from the bottom to the top and earning his rematch with Mr. Frazier, or perhaps a crack at this newly revealed world champion named George Foreman, who's billed to be the hardest puncher boxing had ever seen. After going on a 10-fight winning streak against fighters of this great magnitude, the question marks had been put to rest. There was no doubt about it that Ali is not here to cash in on his earlier fame and fortune. No, Ali is back for revenge and to continue his reign where he left off all those years ago.
So he started working on his power then.
Ken Norton hadn't quite built up his resume like he would in later years. He was yet to win the WBC belt. His power hadn't been fully realized and his coverage was minimal. But from the beginning, he was feared as a fighter with whom no one would enjoy sharing the ring. From his Rocky Marciano-esque crouching stance to his deceptively crushing power, and his orthodox crossguard, which was often seen as a fool's maneuver at the time, would be a stylistic nightmare for almost any contender or champion in heavyweight boxing.
Ken, you voiced the opinion that you don't get enough shall we say, praise.
This is wild. These guys be training. These guys are tough. Boxing used to be a different game.
When you beat some of the fighters that go against other top heavyweights in the country.
Well, I put it this way, a few of the fighters I fought, I've stopped them in a few rounds in high-ranked opponents.
Would you welcome, please, Ken Norton. Ken.
I think it's going to be a very interesting fight with his dancing and my fighting. And,
with his dancing. Ooh, look at his face.
The big night arrived on March 31st.
Wait, hold on. Look at the Muhammad Ali face. Oh, you gotta slow that down. He was like, his dancing and my fighting. He looked salty. We gotta clip this one right here.
Ken Norton. Ken.
I think it's going to be a very interesting fight with his dancing and my fighting.
Do y'all see that? With his dancing and my fighting. Look at that. Clip that. Bring that back. Whoa.
Would you welcome, please, Ken Norton. Ken.
Clip it.
I think it's going to be a very interesting fight with his dancing and my fighting.
Do y'all see that? He was like, what the hell? He would have cussed that man out. Oh, man.
I think that all in all, it's going to be a very good fight.
Let's get ready.
The big night arrived on March 31st, 1973. Ali approached the ring following Kenny Norton with a particularly dapper robe, one that soon became infamous, of course, for being a gift from Elvis Presley. This showed that while Ali was no longer a world champion following his exile, the people of America still admired him and rooted for his redemption. The two men followed their ring walks up with a respectful touch of gloves and awaited what would, unbeknownst to them, become a trilogy for the ages.
For round one. Norton in the early going should show a pretty good left jab. His best punch is a left hook. Temptingly thrown by Norton. It came from way out. He telegraphed it.
After a strong outing in round 1, with Ali adapting to his 2.0 style, where he uses his brain to outbox the powerful Ken Norton, the Jawbreaker lives up to his nickname in the second, breaking Muhammad Ali's jaw and drastically changing the course of the fight.
Total points, wins the fight. Good left there by Norton. That excited the crowd.
Ooh. Hit him in the mouth.
Ali looks sluggish up to this point. Well, that's pretty bluntly spoken. The right got into Ali and then a left. And Norton is coming after him. If nothing else, Norton's confidence is growing. A left to the stomach. One other thing about California, Norton trying to make good use of that left and succeeding. Not a bad round for Kenny Norton. The two standing in ring center. There hasn't been much movement by Ali in this fight. He appears sluggish. But inside of his right glove, he had marked down KO in 3. Norton's stance gets more and more open as the fight progresses, and he's vulnerable to the right. Now you see Ali for the first time beginning to dance. Now the public is beginning to see the first touch of Muhammad Ali. Out the way, Kenny Norton turns his...
Woo! This fight. This is wild. Dancing.
Right foot, often appearing to be off balance.
Although a lot of guys move different kind of ways to get their power, and I think this probably gives the way of moving.
Former heavyweight champion of the world and the only man ever to have beaten Muhammad Ali. Now you see Norton with Ali in the corner, and Ali is just blocking the blows.
Round 5 has Norton at his best, stalking Muhammad around the ring and sensing that Ali isn't able to fight back as much as usual. Changing levels in his Rocky Marciano crouching fashion while targeting the body and the chin makes Norton look to be one of the most skillful heavyweights in town, and Ali tries to survive the way he's always been able to.
Got into Norton, man. He wasn't hurt. Some thought he had
He know the rope got that. He know what he's doing.
Ooh. Ali's getting touched up.
Angelo, Angie, what is wrong with your fighter? Tell me now. Minute and a half left in round 7. Still no real action by Ali.
Dang, Ali's getting slapped around. He's getting slapped around.
Oh, the crowd overrated that blow. One wonders if after this exhibition, Ali will still be proclaiming George Foreman an amateur.
Round 8 sees much better work from Ali. He dances around the ring like his butterfly movement of old and lands his iconic pawing jab whenever Norton contemplates getting within range.
Ali again with the gloves up against the ropes. Ali showing no movement and looking tired as Norton lifted him up a little bit off the ground. Ali couldn't take advantage of the off-balance Norton. So much stronger. There's that back to the midsection.
And Ali's getting beat up. He's getting so punked on right now.
Oh, Kenny Norton pulled a little trick there and actually wins. Now Ali is beginning for the first time to show some...
Come on, Ali, you gotta fight back, man.
Norton's coming at Ali, and Ali is against the rope. Ali is landing in this round, as you can see. He is scoring. One has to wonder, is it all suddenly going out? Is he now but a relic of the fighter he was? Gives one pause to wonder. The final round, round 12. He said, what's Ali going to tell you now?
Round,
and
let's
I
go.
call the fight out of him, because that's what Ali said after Joe was beaten by George Foreman. As we pass the minute mark in the final round, he says the fight's no surprise to him because of the years he worked with Kenny Norton. And Ali would want to be scoring heavily and is not able to do so. Norton is throwing the leather. He's not connecting. Ali has the close block, but the aggressor remains Kenny Norton.
Ooh, beating you. Man, bro.
Good right fight. That right hurt Muhammad Ali. Got in there and it flooded Ali's mouth, too. Blood is all over. Ali's mouth is bloody. The left gets in and it goes right. He is all over Ali. He is pushing him around the ring.
And Ali got beat
This crowd is
up.
going wild. They are sensing a decision in favor of unknown Kenny Norton.
The scorecards are announced after 12 rounds of Norton's best and some of Ali's toughest, and by a closer than necessary split decision, Ken Norton is proclaimed the victor. While it was soon revealed after the bout that Muhammad Ali had his jaw broken in the bout quite early on, it didn't change the fact that Norton dug deep and managed to best one of, if not the most impressive fighter the heavyweight division had ever seen.
How does it feel to have the jaw wired?
Going into the hospital, and then they give you a needle, take the count from 10-1 back.
Wow. It's okay. He was in there. He did what he could do. Sometimes somebody's just better.
Because by the time you get to 7, you sleep.
Right.
And when I woke up, I couldn't move my teeth. And I got a mirror, and all my teeth were wired. I almost went crazy.
Not being one to feel sorry for himself or make excuses, Muhammad Ali instantly demanded a rematch.
How about Norton close my mouth? You tell Norton he open my mouth wider. Don't believe that stuff. Predicting on the predictor. I'm gonna be so fast. Watch what I'm gonna do with my hands in the ring tonight. I'm gonna be so fast. If Norton doing dirty stuff, I'm gonna beat him nowhere and throw him on cage.
Only 6 months later, Muhammad Ali returned to full strength, finished the training camp, and the rematch arrived. After another 12 rounds of prime heavyweight boxing, with 2 in favor of the greatest and the other partial to Hercules, Muhammad Ali is crowned the winner of what would become an unforgettable trilogy of fights between 2 unforgettable titans of the sport.
We are the champion and the #1 contender, so I'm pretty sure that it'll be a fight from the first bell to the ending bell. I predict that you'll be seeing a good fight.
Within 1 year of this bout, Ali would avenge his sole other loss at the time against Joe Frazier by winning a 12-round decision and soon after becoming the world heavyweight champion by reigning supreme over George Foreman in the iconic...
See, my thing is, he won by decision. That could be the fixed part. But we'll move on. Let's see. Oh,
Immense size and strength. Beings who taught him. The DNA results came back impossible. Dr.
All right, so we've been researching giants, Nephilim, things like this, because in our comings, it's mentioned in the Bible. And if it's mentioned in the Bible, then that means it has validity. We want to make sure we give the things that need attention. And in this world, they'll have us distracted with things that don't need attention. So let's look at some of the things that may be overlooked or put in the back of our minds, or even we be called crazy for looking at.
Anatoly Markov ran them 7 times. Same result. Every single test.
Now, before I run it, I'm going to have to do this real quick. Fair use. This is for educational purposes and, research discussion.
The lab equipment wasn't malfunctioning. The samples weren't contaminated. The results were simply impossible. This suggests pre-Diluvian origin, he wrote in his report. His hands shook when he signed it. Genetic markers consistent with Genesis 6:4 descriptions.
Genetic markers with descriptions with Genesis 6:4 descriptions, which would be the sons of God, giants, and whatnot. But how did they know that they classified this unless they already had that DNA present within the system that they could categorize and catalog it with? So they probably already had knowledge of these giants and evidence of it.
3 subjects, all deceased, all measured at Institute 47, 70 kilometers, outside Almaty, in the winter of 1967. Heights, 3.1 meters, 3.2 meters, 3.3 meters. Bone density triple normal human range. Blood proteins that don't exist in any known population. And something else. Something that got 13 people killed and buried this research for 57 years. Their language contained Proto-Hebrew roots from before the Tower of Babel. You're sitting across from someone who was there. Her apartment smells like old tea and something medicinal. Svetlana Petrova is 91 years old now. She was the night nurse assigned to the basement ward at Institute 47. She hasn't spoken about this since 1968. They made me sign papers, she says quietly. Gave me a pension from a department that didn't exist. Told me to forget. But she remembers everything. There were 3 of them, she says. Men, but not men. Too tall. Their bones were wrong. When they breathed, you could hear it across the room. She sets down her teacup. Her hands shake. They spoke to each other. A language like water, over stones. Dr. Resnick brought in linguists. The linguists couldn't leave after that. The facility was supposed to study genetic anomalies. Officially, what it actually studied was whether the Bible was describing real events. Whether Genesis 6 was...
Exactly. This is the part.
History, not mythology. The answer was yes, and that answer had to be destroyed. Institute 47 sits in the foothills where the steppe meets the Tian Shan Mountains. The main building is concrete, 7 stories, Soviet brutalist architecture from 1961. There's a second building behind it, half underground. That's where the basement ward was. The windows are broken now. Grass grows through cracks in
the basement ward. Keyword is ward. Remember, all these insane asylums and the whole properties look like huge towns, even miniature castles. So you got to remember, there's a lot of things that are in our face that we just get lied to blatantly.
foundation. But if you go down to the basement level, past where the doors were removed, you can still see the 3 beds. They're welded together from surgical steel, each one 4 meters long, bolted to the concrete floor. The restraint brackets are still there, though the leather straps rotted away decades ago. Svetlana worked here from 1965 to 1968. She was 34 when they transferred her to the basement ward. Number explanation. Just orders. Report to Dr. Volkov. Basement level, December 12, 1965. I thought they were bodies at first, she says.
Why is it a basement? It's always down in the basement.
3 shapes under sheets, but then one of them moved. She's quiet for a long moment. The tallest one opened his eyes. They were gray. Not like human gray, like looking at granite. The 3 subjects had been discovered in the Altai Mountains in 1963. A geological survey team found them in a cave system, frozen in ice that carbon dated to 4,200 years old. Perfect preservation. Soviet scientists thawed them using techniques developed from mammoth tissue. They didn't expect the subjects to wake up. The first one woke up on December 18th, Svetlana says. He sat up. The restraints broke. Surgical steel. He snapped them like thread. Dr. Volkov sedated him immediately, but not before the subject spoke. One word, Svetlana says, sounded like Nephil. Dr. Volkov went white. He knew what it meant. Nephilim.
Nephilim. Interesting.
The fallen ones. Genesis 6:4. There were giants in the earth in those days, mighty men which were of old, men of renown. The Soviet Union was officially atheist, but the researchers at Institute 47 weren't studying mythology. They were studying something that matched biblical descriptions, so precisely that coincidence became impossible. All 3 of them were over 3 meters tall, Svetlana says. Their bones were denser than ours. Dr. Markov said their bone structure suggested they could have lived for centuries, maybe longer. She shows you a photograph, faded, edges worn, taken through the basement window, 3 shapes visible, 2 tall, 2 still. Dr. Volkov measured everything, she says. Height, bone density, cranial capacity, blood composition. Every measurement matched descriptions from the Book of Enoch, not the canonical Bible, the suppressed texts. The Book of Enoch describes the Nephilim.
See, the Book of Enoch was a part of the Bible originally. It got separated by the church.
As offspring of angels and human women, beings of immense size and strength, beings who taught humanity forbidden knowledge, beings whose corruption led to the flood. The second one woke up in January, Svetlana says. He spoke more. Dr. Rezgik recorded it. Brought in linguists from Moscow University. Her voice drops. The linguists identified Proto, Hebrew, Aramaic, Sumerian, languages that shouldn't exist together. Languages from before languages diverged, before the Tower of Babel. Genesis 11 describes how God confused human language, scattering humanity across the earth. But these 3 spoke a language from before that scattering, a language that contained roots of languages that wouldn't exist for thousands of years. They told us things, Svetlana whispers. The third one especially. He spoke the most. Told Dr. Reznik about cities. Cities that matched Tartarian architecture exactly. She's quiet again. He said they built
Tartarian architecture. This is the stuff that they destroyed in the 17... right around 16, 17, 1800, it all got destroyed after they cataloged all the information.
Them before the flood, before everything was destroyed. The weight of what she saw sits in the silence between you. She was 36 years old, trained as a nurse, raised in Soviet scientific materialism. Nothing in her education prepared her for men who should have been dead for 4 millennia, but were breathing, speaking, remembering. I asked Dr. Volkov if we should contact the church, she says. He laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. The church already knows, he said. They've been hiding this for 2,000 years. By March 1967, the facility had documented everything. Height, weight, bone structure, genetic markers, linguistic patterns, cultural memories. Everything that proved these weren't human, weren't modern, weren't supposed to exist. And everything that proved Genesis 6 was describing real events. That's when Moscow got involved, Svetlana says. Men in dark suits.
All right, so this is a testimony from somebody, and this is their witness account of this giants they found in the ice that have a resemblance to the Nephilim in the Bible. So right now we're trying to investigate to see if this is even a thing.
They didn't wear uniforms, didn't give names. They read Dr. Volkov's reports. Then they made one phone call. She sets down the photograph. 3 weeks later, the subjects died. All of them. Same night, Dr. Volkov said it was organ failure, but their organs were fine the day before. The basement is colder than it should be. Even now, 57 years later, the temperature drops when you descend the stairs. The air doesn't move right. Something about the space holds on to cold. Dr. Yuri Reznik was the linguist they brought from Moscow. He's 87 now, living in a small apartment in Almaty, 3 kilometers from where Institute 47 stands abandoned. He won't go near the facility. Hasn't been back since 1968. The first time I heard them speak, he says, I thought someone was playing a recording. Ancient recordings, dead languages. He was a specialist in Proto-Indo-European linguistics, published papers on language divergence patterns. When the call came from Institute 47, they told him it was a consultation on archaeological findings. They didn't tell him the findings were still alive. The middle one spoke first. Yuri says, his voice was wrong, too deep, like hearing someone speak from inside a cave. He pulls out a notebook. The pages are yellowed, edges frayed. His handwriting covers every page, phonetic transcriptions, grammatical notes, desperate attempts to categorize something that shouldn't exist. I recognized Proto-Hebrew immediately, he says, but mixed with Proto-Sumerian, Proto-Akkadian, and something older, something I couldn't identify. He spent 6 weeks at Institute 47, recording, transcribing, analyzing. Every conversation deepened the impossibility. They described the world before the flood, Yuri says quietly, described cities, described technology, described their fathers, the angels who descended. Genesis 6:2, the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. The tallest one called himself Azazel's line, Yuri says. Azazel, Book of Enoch, Chapter 8, one of the leaders of the Watchers, the angels who fell. The Book of Enoch wasn't in the canonical Bible. The Council of Nicaea in 325 AD removed it. Too disturbing, too specific, too dangerous. But Enoch 6:8 describes everything. The 200 angels who descended on Mount Hermon. Their oath to take human wives. Their offspring, the Nephilim, who grew to be giants. Who consumed all the food. Who taught humanity metallurgy, cosmetics, weaponry, astrology. Who corrupted the earth so thoroughly that God sent the flood to destroy them. They remembered it, Yuri says. Remembered the flood. The middle one described watching the water rise. Described drowning. Described waking up in ice. He's shaking. Do you understand what that means? They died in the flood. Genesis 6:7, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth. They died. And somehow, they woke up. The weight of knowing impossible things settles over him. He spent 57 years trying to rationalize what he documented. Trying to find explanations that don't require accepting that the Bible was describing literal events. He hasn't found any. I submitted my findings to Dr. Volkov, Yuri says, told him the linguistic evidence was conclusive. These beings spoke a language from before the Tower of Babel, a unified human language. Exactly as...
Now, all of our languages derive from somewhere, and they're all similar in a way. Now, that could mean we had one language. It's that similar.
Genesis 11 describes. He closes the notebook. Dr. Volkov burned my reports, personally. Made me watch. Then 2 men came to my apartment. KGB. Told me I'd never worked at Institute 47. Told me I'd never seen the subjects. Told me I'd never speak about this. He looks at you. They killed Dr. Volkov 6 months later. Car accident. Killed Dr. Markov 2 years after that. Heart attack. Killed 4 others I know about. Made it look natural. The silence that follows carries the weight of 13 deaths. 13 people who knew. 13 people who documented what they found. 13 people who proved the biblical Nephilim were real. I kept a notebook. Yuri whispers. I know I wasn't supposed to, but someone needs to know this was real. You're looking at Yuri's transcriptions when it hits you. The phonetic patterns, the grammaticals, the way certain root words appear in multiple language families simultaneously. This isn't just old. This is the origin point. Genesis 11:1. And the whole earth was of one language, and of one speech. Before God confused the languages at Babel, humanity spoke one tongue. The language Adam spoke in Eden. The language Noah spoke before the flood. The language the Nephilim would have spoken. And these 3 giants spoke it. Your hands are shaking when you see the connection. Every biblical timeline, every archaeological finding, every suppressed text points to the same conclusion. The Tartarian civilization wasn't destroyed by humans. It was destroyed by the flood, and the Nephilim built it. But if the Soviets discovered this in 1967, they weren't the first. In the Vatican secret archives, there's a restricted section, texts that require special permission to access, texts that churches have kept hidden for centuries. Father Domenico Rossini accessed them in 1952. He was researching connections between ancient megalithic sites and biblical events. The Vatican allowed his research because they thought the connections would be metaphorical. They weren't. I found documentation from the 1600s, Father Rossini says. His voice comes from a recorded interview, preserved by someone who interviewed him before his death in 1995. Jesuit missionaries in Siberia. They reported finding massive structures, buildings that matched no known architectural style. The recording crackles. But what disturbed the Vatican was the height of the doorways, 4 meters tall, too large for humans. The missionaries asked local populations who built them. The locals said, the tall ones who spoke to God. The Jesuits sent samples back to Rome, stone samples from the buildings. Carbon dating technology didn't exist yet, but the Vatican commissioned analysis. The stone showed tool marks that suggested advanced metallurgy, technology that shouldn't have existed in Siberia in ancient times. The church suppressed it, Father Rossini says.
So, we're at the point where we're realizing all of this that we've been told may actually be lies. And that's okay, because we get lied to all the time. So why should this be new?
Suppressed all of it, because if those buildings were real, if the Nephilim built them, then Genesis 6 was literal history. And if Genesis 6 was literal, then the flood was literal. And if the flood was literal, he trails off. Then the church had been lying about biblical interpretation for 1700 years. The recording ends. You're back at Institute 47, standing in the basement where the 3 beds remain. Father Rossini's research and the Soviet findings match perfectly. Massive structures, advanced technology, biblical timelines, things who shouldn't exist but did. The Tartarian civilization wasn't mysterious. It was Nephilim, and both the church and the Soviets knew it. The basement feels heavier now, knowing what happened here, knowing what was discovered and destroyed. Dr. Helena Volkov was brought to Institute 47 in February 1967. She wasn't related to Dr. Volkov, who ran the facility. She was a biblical scholar from Leningrad University, specialist in ancient Hebrew and comparative mythology.
Okay. We're starting to get into the real dirt. We're starting to get into the people behind it.
She's 89 now, lives alone, won't give interviews, but she'll talk if you don't record, if you just listen. They told me it was a translation project, she says. Ancient texts found in a cave system. I thought it was Dead Sea Scrolls material, archaeological. She arrived at Institute 47 on February 12th. They took her directly to the basement. I saw them, and I knew, she says simply. Genesis 6:4, there were giants in the earth in those days. Not metaphor, fact. Dr. Volkov, the facility director, gave her 3 weeks, analyze everything the subjects said. Cross-reference with biblical texts, apocryphal writings, anything that might explain what they were. I started with the Book of Enoch, Helena says. Chapter 7, verse 2. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells. An ell is approximately 45 centimeters. 3,000 ells is, she pauses, over 1 kilometer tall, obviously exaggerated. but Genesis 6:4 describes them as mighty men of old, men of renown. Numbers 13:33 says the Israelite spies saw giants who made them feel like grasshoppers. She pulls out a worn Bible, pages marked, annotated, cross-referenced, with decades of notes. What's not in the canonical Bible is more revealing, she says. The Book of Giants from the Dead Sea Scrolls describes the Nephilim teaching humanity astronomy, mathematics, metallurgy, agriculture, describes their cities as reaching the clouds. The massive Tartarian structures, buildings 4, 5, 6 stories tall, stone architecture so advanced it's still standing thousands of years later. The tallest subject told me his name, Helena says quietly. Barakel. Book of Enoch, 69:8. Barakel taught astrology, one of the 200 watchers, one of the angels who fell. She looks at you. Do you understand? He claimed to be the son of a fallen angel, claimed to have lived before the flood, claimed to remember the world as it was, and his memories matched biblical descriptions perfectly. He described antediluvian civilization, Helena says, cities across Europe, Asia, North America, advanced technology, knowledge that shouldn't have existed, giants ruling over humans, corruption spreading. Genesis 6:5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. The flood was judgment, Helena says. Judgment specifically targeting the Nephilim and their corruption. Genesis 6:7. I will destroy man whom I have created. But verse 4 already mentioned giants. The destruction was aimed at them. She opens the Bible to a page she's marked with dozens of notes. But here's what terrified me, Helena says. Genesis 6:4 doesn't just say there were giants in those days. It says, and also after that, after the flood, the Nephilim returned. Numbers 13:33. The Israelite spies in Canaan. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants. Deuteronomy 3:11. Cain Og of Bashan. His bedstead was a bedstead of iron. 9 cubits was the length thereof. 4 meters long. 1 Samuel 17. Goliath of Gath. 6 cubits and a span. 3 meters tall. The biblical record is clear, Helena says. The Nephilim survived. Either they survived the flood, or the fallen angels bred with humans again, after it. She's shaking now. Barakel told me which happened. He said some of them survived. Scattered. Hidden. Frozen in ice caves. Sealed in underground chambers. Waiting to be He said there were more, Helena whispers. More like him. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Preserved in ice across the mountains of the world. In the Himalayas, the Andes, the Rockies. Everywhere the floodwaters reached but couldn't completely destroy. She closes the Bible. I wrote a 200-page report, documented everything, cross-referenced every biblical mention of giants, every apocryphal text, every linguistic pattern. My conclusion was unambiguous. These subjects were Nephilim, offspring of the Watchers, survivors of the flood who were frozen and preserved. She pulls out a second document, handwritten, 60 pages. But I also documented what they told me about the others, she says, coordinates, locations. Barakel describes 23 sites, places where more of his kind were hidden, sealed in ice, waiting to wake up. The weight of that revelation sits between you. 23 more sites, 23 more locations where Nephilim might still exist. Frozen. Preserved. Waiting. Dr. Volkov took this document personally, Helena says, locked it in a safe with my main report, told me I'd done excellent work, told me I'd be compensated, told me to return to Leningrad and never speak of this. Her hands shake when she pours tea. They fired me from the university 3 months later, accused me of mystical thinking contrary to scientific materialism, blacklisted me. I couldn't teach, couldn't publish, couldn't work. She was 32 years old. Her career was over, but I kept my notes, she whispers, private copies. Everything all 23 locations.
Dang, that's how they do you. They have you help them figure some shit out, and then they kick you to the curb. That's crazy. Why they do people like this? See, man, this is sad. Oh, you'll be compensated. Oh, we got you. Next thing you know, you're gone.
Because this was too important. If the Nephilim were real, if they built those cities, if the flood destroyed them, if more of them exist, she looks at you. Then everything we think we know about human history is wrong, and something far more dangerous is still out there. There's someone else who was at Institute 47, someone who wasn't a scientist or a nurse or a linguist, someone who saw what happened from the inside of the system that destroyed it all. Major Alexei Kozlov was military intelligence, GRU, not KGB. He was assigned to Institute 47 in January 1967 as a security liaison. His job was to monitor the research, assess its strategic value, report to Moscow. He's 85 now, lives in a small house in southern Kazakhstan. Agreed to speak only because he's dying. Cancer. 6 months left, maybe less. I thought it was weapons research, he says. His voice is rough. Damaged from decades of smoking, biological weapons, chemical agents, something classified. That's what GRU does. He arrived at Institute 47 on January 15, 1967. They briefed him in Dr. Volkov's office, showed him the subjects, showed him the preliminary findings. I didn't believe it, Kozlov says. Thought it was some kind of test, psychological evaluation, see how I'd react to insane scenarios. But it wasn't a test. They took me to the basement, showed me the 3 beds, showed me the subjects. He's quiet for a moment. I'd seen a lot in the military. Combat, interrogations, things that should have prepared me. But nothing prepares you for that. 3 giants, breathing, speaking, remembering things from 4,000 years ago. The tallest one looked at me, Kozlov says, made eye contact, and I felt it. Something old, something that had seen empires rise and fall, something that remembered when the world was different. He lights a cigarette despite the oxygen tank beside his chair. I called Moscow that night, told them what I'd seen. They told me to monitor, document, report, nothing else. But Kozlov did more than monitor. He read the reports, listened to the recordings, talked to the researchers. Dr. Markov showed me the genetic analysis, he says. Showed me markers that didn't match any human population. Showed me bone density readings that suggested these beings could live for centuries. He taps Ash into a tray. Dr. Resnick played me the linguistic recordings. I don't know languages. But even I could hear it, the way they spoke. Like the language itself was older than the languages we use today. And then Helena showed him the biblical connections. She gave me a copy of her preliminary findings. Kozlov says, 20 pages. Cross-references between what the subject said and biblical texts. I'm not religious, was raised atheist, but the connections were impossible to ignore. Genesis 6, the Nephilim, the flood, the angels who fell. I reported everything to Moscow. Kozlov's detailed findings. Requested guidance. The response came on March 15, 1967. Terminate the project. Eliminate all evidence. Silence all witnesses. Use any means necessary. Kozlov's hands shake when he stubs out the cigarette. I knew what that meant. I'd carried out termination orders before. Political enemies. Security threats. But this was different. These were Soviet scientists. Loyal citizens. People who discovered something extraordinary. He didn't want to do it. But orders were orders. The KGB took over on March 20th. Colonel Petrov arrived with a team. 6 men. Specialist in making things disappear. Kozlov was reassigned, transferred back to Moscow, told to forget everything he'd seen at Institute 47. But I kept one thing, he says. He reaches into a drawer, pulls out a file folder. Old, stained, marked with classification stamps that were obsolete decades ago. Dr. Volkov gave this to me the night before Petrov arrived. Told me to hide it. Told me someone needed to preserve the truth. The file contains photographs, 12 of them. The subjects, the beds, the researchers measuring, documenting, analyzing, and one photograph that shows something else. That's from the Altai cave, Kozlov.
So, the truth will come to the light. And now we see you cannot hide from the truth.
Says, where they found the subjects. The geological team took it before they transported the bodies. The photograph shows the cave, ice, and in the background, partially visible, other shapes, other bodies, still frozen. There were more. The geological team reported 9 subjects total. 6 of them were too damaged to transport. They left them in the cave. 6 more Nephilim. Still there. Still frozen. Still waiting. I reported that to Moscow too, Kozlov says. They ordered the cave sealed, dynamited the entrance, buried everything under 300 tons of rock. He coughs. The sound is wet, painful. I'm dying. The cancer's in my lungs, my liver, my bones. Maybe God's judgment. Maybe just bad luck. But before I die, someone needs to know what I know. He hands you the file folder. The coordinates are in there. The Altai cave location. The entrance is buried. But the cave system extends for kilometers. There are other entrances, other ways in. He lights another cigarette. And if Helena was right, if there are 23 sites, if more of them exist, he trails off. Then the Nephilim didn't die. They're still here. Still frozen. Still waiting for someone to wake them up. Section 7 Personal Verification at Anshore. 3700-4300. The facility is abandoned now. Has been since 1973. The main building is accessible, though unsafe. Floors rotting, ceilings collapsed, but the basement ward is concrete, still solid. You're standing where Svetlana stood, where Yuri recorded impossible languages, where Helena documented biblical connections. The air is cold. Your breath fogs. The 3 beds remain. 4 meters long, surgical steel, bolted to the floor. You measure them, 4.1 meters, 4.1 meters, 4.2 meters. Built for beings over 3 meters tall. On the wall, someone scratched something, faded but readable. Hebrew letters. You photograph it. Send it to a translator. The response comes back. Barackle was here. The water came. We sleep. Your hands are shaking. There's someone else here. An old man. He's been watching you from the doorway. He's 78.
All right. So, it's getting a little crazy. So, he's going in through the details. But, hey, this is just so wild. You know, this is the kind of stuff that will scare somebody.
Years old, lives in a small village 2 kilometers from the facility. He's been the unofficial caretaker since the government abandoned it. I was a janitor here, he says. His name is Victor, 1966 to 1968. Cleaned the floors, emptied the trash, saw things I wasn't supposed to see. He walks to the beds, touches the steel. They were real, he says simply. The giants, I saw them, twice, both times, through the basement window. They were too big, something about them wasn't right. He's quiet for a moment. I heard them talking once. Late at night, I was cleaning the hallway. Their voices came through the door, sounded like stones, grinding, like hearing the earth speak. Victor pulls out a small object from his pocket, a metal fragment, oxidized, ancient. Found this in the trash, he says. March 1967. Someone threw it away. I kept it. You examine it. The metal is bronze, but the composition is wrong. No impurities, no modern alloy patterns. Dr. Markov told me it came from one of them, Victor says. Said they had metal fragments embedded in their bones. Said the metal was older than any known bronze working. Bronze Age technology began around 3300 BCE. This metal predates that, predates known metallurgy. Matches the Book of Enoch's description of Azazel teaching humans metalworking. After they died, Victor says, men came, military, KGB, cleaned out everything, took the bodies, took the equipment, took the files, burned what they couldn't. He gestures to scorch marks on the concrete walls. They burned documents here. Right here in the basement. I watched from outside, smoke for 2 days. The weight of suppression becomes physical. 13 researchers killed, hundreds of documents destroyed, 3 bodies removed, all evidence eliminated. But they couldn't take the beds, Victor says. Too heavy, bolted down. So they left them, left the only proof that something was here. You measure the beds again, photograph the wall inscription, document the metal fragment, everything that proves the impossible. People come sometimes, Victor says. Researchers, curious people, they measure, they photograph, they leave. Nobody stays. Nobody wants to know what this means. He looks at you. Because if those giants were real, if they were what the scientists said they were, then the Bible was right. And if the Bible was right, about the temperature in the basement is 11 degrees Celsius. Outside, it's 24 degrees. The laws of thermodynamics say this shouldn't be possible, but it is. Has been for 57 years. You set up equipment, thermal sensors, air quality monitors, electromagnetic field detectors. The readings come back strange. Temperature variation, impossible. Air composition, normal, but with trace elements that don't match local atmosphere. Electromagnetic fields, elevated, consistent, pulsing at regular intervals. It's them, Victor says quietly. Something they left behind. Even dead, even gone, something remains. The final witness is already dead. Colonel Mikhail Petrov worked for the KGB's Department for Suppression of Religious Activity. He died in 2019, age 93. But before he died, he recorded a confession, gave it to his daughter, told her to release it after his death. She did. The recording is 47 minutes long. Petrov's voice is weak but clear. He describes his career, his assignments, the people he silenced, the evidence he destroyed, and then he describes Institute 47. I received orders in March 1967, Petrov says. Highest level. Direct from Moscow. Eliminate all evidence of Project Nephilim. Eliminate all witnesses if necessary. Project Nephilim. That was the classified name for the Institute 47 research. They told me what they'd found, Petrov continues. 3 subjects, giant humanoids, frozen for 4,000 years, speaking ancient languages, claiming to be offspring of angels. He coughs. The recording crackles. I thought it was insane. Thought the scientists had lost their minds. But when I read the reports, he's quiet for a long moment. Everything matched. Biblical descriptions, archaeological findings, linguistic patterns. The scientists weren't crazy. They'd found proof that Genesis 6 was real. Petrov's orders were clear. Destroy, silence the witnesses. Ensure no connection between the Soviet findings and biblical texts ever became public. The subjects died on March 28, 1967, Petrov says. We used potassium chloride, injected directly into the heart. Made it look like organ failure. He murdered them. 3 beings who survived the flood, frozen for 4 millennia, woken by Soviet science, and the KGB murdered them. We removed the bodies the same night, Petrov continues. Transported them to a crematorium in Kazakhstan. Burned them at 1,200 degrees for 6 hours. Then scattered the ashes in the Tian Shan Mountains. Nothing remained. No bodies. No bones, no DNA samples. We destroyed the research over the next 2 weeks. Every document, every recording, every photograph, every tissue sample, all of it burned or shredded. He coughs again, but that wasn't enough. Moscow wanted the scientists silenced, permanently. The 13, Dr. Volkov, Dr. Markov, the linguists, the biblical scholar, the geneticists, everyone who knew. We made them look natural, Petrov says. Car accidents, heart attacks, suicides, spread them out over 5 years so no one would see the pattern. His voice breaks. I killed 13 people who discovered the truth. Killed them because the truth was too dangerous. There's a long silence in the recording. The Soviet Union feared religion, Petrov finally says, feared anything that might validate the church. If people knew giants were real, knew the Bible was describing actual events, knew the flood happened, the entire state ideology would collapse. But it wasn't just the Soviets. We coordinated with the Vatican, Petrov says quietly. They sent representatives, told us they'd been suppressing this evidence for centuries, showed us their documentation, Jesuit reports from the 1600s, descriptions of massive structures.
The Vatican. See, the Romans, they still have their hand in just about everything. Yeah, we'll get to where the Romans became the church. The Romans became the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church.
Giants, everything. The church and the communists. Enemies in every other way. United in suppressing the Nephilim evidence. Both sides feared the same thing, Petrov says. If the Nephilim were real, if Genesis 6 was literal history, then people would start asking questions. About the flood, about judgment, about what comes next. He pauses. You can hear him crying. There's something else, Petrov says. Something I've never told anyone. After we destroyed the Institute 47 evidence, Moscow gave me another assignment. The recording crackles with static. The biblical scholar, Helena, she documented 23 other sites. Locations where more Nephilim might be frozen. Moscow wanted those sites secured. Petrov spent 3 years traveling. Himalaya, Andes, Rockies, Caucasus, Alps. Every mountain range where glaciers held ice from before the flood. We found 4 of them, Petrov says. 4 other sites with frozen subjects. We sealed them. Buried the entrances. Posted military guards at remote coordinates. Told the soldiers they were guarding geological hazards. 4 more sites. 4 more locations with Nephilim. Still frozen. Still there. I don't know if the other 19 sites exist, Petrov says. Helena's document was incomplete. Barako only remembered some of the locations. But I know those 4 are real. I stood in those caves, saw the bodies, saw the ice. He's silent for a long moment. I'm 93 years old, he says. I'm dying, and I need someone to know what I did. What we all did. We destroyed proof that the Bible was real. We killed people to hide the truth. We buried evidence of beings that connected humanity to something beyond ourselves. The recording continues. And somewhere in those mountains, frozen in ice that's been there for 4,000 years, more of them wait. More Nephilim. More proof. More truth. His breathing is labored. I don't know if God exists.
Yo, what up,
but if he does, I'll face
Skywalker?
him soon. And I'll have to explain why I murdered his witnesses. The recording ends with Petrov crying, repenting, begging forgiveness from a God he never believed in. You're back at Institute 47, back in the basement where it all happened, where 3 Nephilim woke up after 4,000 years, where Soviet scientists documented biblical truth, where the KGB erased everything. The beds remain, 4 meters of surgical steel, bolted to concrete. The only physical proof that something impossible was here. Svetlana is 91 now, still remembering, still carrying the weight of what she saw. Yuri is 87, his notebook filled with a language from before Babel. Helena is 89, her biblical cross-references proving the connection. Kozlov is 85, dying, his file folder preserved. Victor is 78, guarding empty rooms where giants once breathed. And Colonel Petrov is dead, his confession released, his guilt recorded, his crimes admitted. 13 people died to suppress this. 13 people who documented the connection between Tartarian civilization and biblical Nephilim, between massive structures and Genesis 6, between ancient giants and the flood. What we know, 3 beings were found. 3 beings over 3 meters tall. 3 beings who spoke a unified language from before the Tower of Babel. 3 beings whose DNA showed genetic markers consistent with biblical descriptions. 3 beings who claimed to be offspring of fallen angels. What we don't know, how many others exist. Whether Helena's 23 sites are real, whether Petrov's 4 sealed caves still hold frozen Nephilim. What technology the Nephilim possessed. Why both the church and communists feared this truth so completely. What happens if more of them wake up? What was destroyed? Bodies, cremated and scattered, documents, burned and shredded, tissue samples, incinerated, recordings, erased, photographers, destroyed, except 12, except the ones Kozlov preserved. What remains? 3 beds, 1 wall inscription, 1 metal fragment, 4 elderly witnesses, 1 confession, 1 file folder, coordinates to caves that might still hold proof, and the massive structures, spanning continents, built with technology that shouldn't have existed, built by hands that shouldn't have existed, built by the Nephilim before the flood came. Genesis 6:4. There were giants in the earth, in those days and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. They were real, they built Tartaria, they spoke to God, they remembered the world before judgment, and the governments of earth killed them again.
Pause it right quick, man. God damn, that's how you treat your guests? That's how you treat your guests over here?
Bad, bro.
Huh?
Nah, I was rolling this real quick. I was in the middle. My hands was busy. I was
Shit, right
down.
now? Right now is the time to be. Right now, what you doing? Know what I'm saying? Shit, over there. Okay, what you listening to?
Right now, this is the Tartarian giants were Nephilim, and the biblical connection that was erased.
Oh shit. Okay, well I tuned in, seen you live. Know what I mean? And shit, I like, man, damn, they talking about something like this over here right now.
Yep.
The conversation, if you tune in, the conversation right now is this the type of conversation you like right here.
See, and I was gonna be over there, but I was like, I needed to just have my little smoke sesh real quick and try to get my routine. I think I'm gonna move the smoke sesh into with my first segment because I do the after work show. So after work, we just come.
Oh, you over there on the west side?
Yeah.
What the hell's up with
So
this?
it's like-
You doing in the dark cloak thing? This your new stick?
The Emperor, you got to. You know what I mean? That's why I had to set everything up.
So you know what I mean? Welcome to the dark side.
You when you got your soundboard now, huh?
Nah, I had it. It's hard to work unless I'm doing my computer because the tablet is a little weird.
Where'd you get it from?
I don't know. I just went to Walmart and grabbed one.
Oh, you at Walmart? They got
decent
soundboards
stuff,
at
yeah.
Walmart? I didn't know that.
They got like everything over there. The only thing I can't find is a dynamic mic cord. Once I get it, I'll have a clean mic, and it'll go to my soundboard.
What is a dynamic mic cord?
You know those studio mics with the big fat cord?
Oh, you talking about with the end of a microphone like this? That looks like
yeah,
this?
but it's real fat. Yeah.
Look like this. See? Like this.
Yep, that one. Except there's a little skinny one, but then there's a big fat one. I need the fat one.
Oh, the fatter the cord, the more better.
Yeah.
That's what I gotta get in. I had to give me a fat one. Well, shit, all right. Well, shit, that's what's up. What you got in the chat? Nobody in the chat? You just vibing out, huh?
I mean, there was
Shout
some
out.
people, but you know, they just be watching.
Well, shit, let them watch. You know what I mean? Shout out to them. Tell them to hit that like button, share the video, subscribe. You know what I mean? The Imp Smoke Session.
Yep,
You know what I mean?
You smoking? You ready?
I'm rolling up right now. Didn't you just say you were gonna wait till your first session?
Nah, I just finished rolling it. I was about to light it. And then this video, it was deep. It was deep. Not only are the Russians and a lot of the other countries, they're in on it as far as the cover up. And they even found evidence that these giants are real. So it's one of these things that's like, what are we really going to believe? Are we going to believe them? Or are we going to believe the evidence?
I don't know what evidence you're talking about. I don't see no evidence. I see someone that made a video.
Well, when there was evidence and it was taken by the government
But see,
didn't
this
show the
is what I
evidence.
say. This is what I say. Imp. I'm with you on what you're saying. But what is real and what ain't real? Especially nowadays. They're putting it out there in the ether. And seems like You know what I mean? Everything they put in your face. So then next thing you know, they're saying that, oh, when you see something that might be real, everybody's saying, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy because you listen to the internet. You watch the internet. And like you say, TikTok. You know what I'm saying? Or this guy up here on on our panel talking about TikTok, this and that. You know what I mean?
Well, where else are we supposed to put information that we
Yeah, but
find?
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he's saying you learn off of TikTok, but where else everybody else learn from?
Well,
Off of everywhere
those are
else,
our
right?
sources.
That's
Most
what
of
I'm
us don't
saying.
go to school.
So how do you know when I find some sources that my source isn't true and your source
Now,
is?
yesterday's episode was about truth and lies, right? Now, a truth and a lie, they're both the same thing. The only difference is what you believe.
No, no,
Yeah,
it's not.
I'll
No, it's
explain
not.
it if you want me
No,
to.
no, 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 no. Because the truth is, when I go outside and touch that tree, I'm touching a tree. That's the truth.
But the tree itself could be a lie. It
No,
might be something else.
no,
It might not
no,
be a
no,
tree.
no,
We're
it's
just calling it a tree.
not.
See, that's why I'm telling you. A lie is the truth until you don't believe it anymore. Yeah.
No. Well, shit. I was coming to check you out. You know what I mean? You know what I
Oh,
mean?
you were breaking
So,
up.
I
What'd you
said, well,
say?
I was just coming to check you out. I seen you were live. You know what I mean? See,
Yeah.
come check you out right quick. You know, I'm gonna come back up here. You feel me?
Hell
Shit,
yeah.
we smoke one. You know what I mean? And let me get back up here on the panel. If you want to come up, you know what I mean? When you get done with your stream over here, shit, I see.
Shit.
I'll holler at you
This
in a
is
little
smoke
bit.
sesh. This is the night. We going to
Oh,
bed after this one.
it's
Yep.
over with, huh?
Yep.
All right.
This
Well,
is the
shit. Well,
last
I'll
chill
holler
out.
at you. I know that's
Hell
right.
yeah.
Well, shit, I'm gonna holler at you. You know what I'm saying? Shit. We get up out of here though.
All right,
Appreciate you
keep
for
your head
having
on
me
the
up here.
swivel, G.
Yes,
Hell yeah.
sir. Yes, sir. Tartaria forever.
Already. All right, everybody. We're going to finish this up real quick.
It is cold. Will always be cold. The temperature drops in places where impossible things happened, where beings from before the flood woke up, where biblical truth became scientific fact, where 13 people died for knowing. Victor still guards this place, still keeps the metal fragment, still remembers their voices like stones grinding. Someone needs to know, he says. Someone needs to remember that they were here. The beds remain, bolted to the floor, 4 meters long, built for giants, built for Nephilim, built for proof that Genesis 6 was real. And somewhere in the mountains, in caves sealed by governments, in ice that's been there since the flood, more of them wait. The Tartarian giants were NLM, the biblical connection they tried to destroy. But the truth doesn't die. It waits, frozen in ice, bolted to concrete, written in ancient languages, sealed in caves that governments guard. And if Helena was right, if Barackle told the truth, if 23 sites exist, then the question isn't whether the Nephilim were real. The question is, how many of them are still out there?
They are not late.
All right. We'll get into the giant stuff. So technically, the Nephilim, right? These Tartarian giants, this is a thing. And it not only proves that the Bible has validity, that makes all of the different ancient stories of history and all the old languages, brings it all together to, wow, oh my God, we did it. We did it. We figured out what's going on. And if they know, if we know what's going on, they know that whatever the system is now, it's going to have to change. We're not going to be able to stay the way we are. We're not having it. A lot of people are over it already. But this guy right here, I just wanted to hit this.
One more
This
athlete
guy
left
is
to go.
crazy. All right? This is the strongest man in the world right now. He holds the record. And he's going to beat his own record. Right? So this brought me to one of the points of life right here. See, life is about that human ingenuity. And the beautiful part about us and us overcoming, when we set ourselves to a goal and we become the best at something, nobody can beat us except us. It's like setting the high score. And now you're the only one that can beat the high score. And everybody keeps trying, but they just can't. So let me go ahead and run this real quick. So this guy right here, this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the mind. Because the mind is so powerful, the body does what it says.
And he is a living legend of British strongman. This man hails from Blackburn, Lancashire, England. He is the reigning and defending Hercules Hall world record holder. He needs 1 minute 24 seconds. 1 minute 24 seconds is that magic number for Mark Felix. On the way we go. Here we go. Felix in the Manchester Arena. This remarkable athlete, 53 years of age, from Blackburn, Lancashire. Felix has been an ever-present of global strongman.
Now, these are old school pillars that are actually fashioned from Rome, the Roman stone that they used to make the Colosseums with. So I thought this was pretty cool because they're still keeping culture alive. We always had gladiator games and things like this. I see how the entertainment and how we always had a knack for competing against each other, or at least that's what, there's this innate craving to be the best when you have a taste for it.
And an ever-present of world records and exceptional performances in this specific discipline of the sport. The Hercules Hall has been his wheelhouse, and he has been an untouchable force in this area.
Now, remember, this guy is a big guy. He's like 6 something, almost 7 foot. And if we think about giants and we think about the Nephilim and things like that, this could be a small peek into the capabilities of what our potential could be.
Will we see something special again from Felix here? Why not? Manchester will want to see it. Everyone in the building wants to see it. We've seen classic efforts tonight.
See, his mind
already
is calm right now,
in the car
but you can see
walk
his
from
body
Matthew
start to
Skinas-Kotsky.
react.
We are heading into the money rounds now as Felix cruises over the minute and still looks strong. Stay with it,
See?
Mark Felix.
Now he has to
Ladies
tell
and
his
gentlemen,
body with
miracle
his
man.
mind.
He's going for that world record, and he's
This is
closing
all
in.
brain right here.
See you all in, listen to Manchester.
See, the body's trying to give out.
Yes, Manchester, yes.
So, the mind is strong because we start everything we're going to do. It starts in our mind. We think about it. Even when we react to something, we thought at such an innate speed, almost like AI, if you will, reflexes, muscle memory, even the plasticity of our brains is muscle. So the more we utilize our language skills, reading, the more we use each word, it's gonna flow. That's why people that can speak very well and speak very fast, it's because they're used to those words. They say those words all the time, which is why sometimes it seems like I speak slow. It's because I'm thinking about what I say actively. And a lot of people don't actively think about what they say. Now, let's see what we got here. I didn't pick a lot of stuff, so we'll just go to the random too. Okay, we got the homies. They're live right now. Homegirls live. Slap boxing is crazy. They suspended my thing last time I was watching slap boxing, so I can't watch that. All right, let me see. I know I have some interesting stuff here. Just random. Prisoners versus cops. That's wild. Who's stronger? job. We been did that. Mike Tyson versus Onyx. Looks like a pretty good fight. All right, these guys riding bulls. This is crazy stuff. This is crazy. Bull riding stuff is crazy. Let's see. I don't know. I'm not seeing anything fun. Might have to dig into the knowledge bro again. Because the knowledge bro will be having some trouble. Shout out to PBD podcast. All right, well, I'm just gonna pull up.
This is Station 4. We are alive.
I'll pull this up real quick. This one's pretty interesting. I don't mind it so much.
We are safe and we are waiting for you.
$60 million Americans exposed their family history to a website last year. They uploaded DNA samples, shared birth certificates. $60 million Americans exposed their family history to a website last year. They uploaded DNA samples, shared birth certificates, paid monthly subscriptions to databases promising connection to their ancestors. And almost all of them hit the same wall. Not 1776, not 1620, the year 1870. That is when the names stop. That is when the records vanish. That is when your family tree becomes a collection of question marks. I spent 3 months trying to understand why.
But in the future, the shows are going to be much more structured. The smoke sesh. This is just because I like to smoke and chill. So this is kind of like before bed. This is just hanging out, looking at whatever. But my show after work, that's the show that's more structured. And it goes for about an hour to 3 hours tops. No extensions. Because we can always come and hang out in the smoke sesh and just BS and do whatever. But you know, we still got to live life in between.
And what I found made me realize this is not a gap in record keeping. This is a pattern. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Start with the obvious question. Why 1870? The answer you will find in genealogy forums sounds reasonable at first. Birth certificates were not mandatory until the early 1900s. The 1890 census was destroyed in a fire.
Now, birth certificates not being mandatory is very interesting. So there's not records of our ancestors the way people are trying to say, oh, I'm from the Queen of England and blah, blah, blah. You can't really know that unless you are of that specific bloodline that has been literally tracking their heritage, because they do that. But Americans didn't do that originally.
Records simply were not kept as thoroughly back then. These explanations satisfy most people. They satisfied me for about a week. Then I started looking at the details, and the details do not add up. The 1890 census was the most detailed population count in American history up to that point. Nearly 63 million Americans documented with information no previous census had collected. Immigration status, naturalization records, number of children born versus children surviving, whether you spoke English, whether you owned your home or rented, whether you had served in the Civil War and on which side. This was not just a head count. This was a comprehensive snapshot of every person living in America during a very specific window of time. The transition period, the generation that remembered what came before. On January 10, 1921, a fire broke out in the basement of the Commerce Building in Washington, D.C., where these records were stored. The official story says 1/4 of the census was destroyed outright. Another half sustained water and smoke damage. But here is what the official story leaves out. The fire did not destroy the 1890 census. Bureaucratic indifference did. Those damaged records sat in storage for 12 years. No restoration, no copying, no attempt to salvage what remained. Then, in December 1932, the chief clerk of the Census Bureau sent a list to the Librarian of Congress asking which documents should be preserved. The 1890 census was on that destruction list. The Librarian of Congress identified 0 records worth saving, not a single page from 63 million names. Congress authorized the destruction on February 21, 1933. One day later, on February 22nd, President Herbert Hoover laid the cornerstone for the National Archives building, a fireproof facility designed specifically to prevent this kind of loss. One day apart. The census destroyed on February 21st. The building that would have saved it began on February 22nd. Of 63 million names, approximately 6,000 survived. That is not a fire. That is an erasure. But the 1890 census is only one piece. Let me show you another. Before the 1900s, most American states did not require birth certificates. Massachusetts started in 1841. But South Carolina did not mandate birth registration until 1915. Georgia waited until 1919. Texas started in 1903, but compliance was scattered for decades. When Social Security began in 1935, millions of Americans could not prove they had been born. They had no documentation, no government record of their existence. These people had to file something called a delayed birth certificate. They gathered evidence from census records, church baptismals, family Bibles, testimony from elderly relatives, anything that could prove they existed. The government was essentially asking an entire generation to prove they were real. Think about what that means. Your great-great-grandmother born in 1880 probably has no birth certificate. The only proof she existed might be a handwritten entry in a family Bible, if that Bible...
Wow. Wow. Now that's pretty harsh. A lot of people don't even have birth certificates from before 1890. That's wild.
survived if it was not lost or sold or destroyed in one of the many fires that seem to follow these records around. Speaking of fires, there is a term genealogists use called burned counties. It refers to counties where courthouse fires destroyed vital records. You might assume this happened occasionally, randomly, the unfortunate result of wooden buildings and oil lamps. You would be wrong. 40% of Alabama counties lost their records, 40% of Georgia counties, nearly 40% of Mississippi, 60 of Tennessee's 95 counties experienced significant record loss. In some cases, the same courthouse burned 2 or 3 times. Lenoir County, North Carolina lost records in 1878, then again in 18...
Hold up. How does the same courthouse burn 2 or 3 times? Come on, man. Come on, man.
1880. Montgomery County burned in 1835, 1840, and 1886. Swain County lost everything in 1879. Then in 1908, a mob burned the courthouse during a riot. No records were saved. Port Tobacco, Maryland experienced what contemporary accounts called a suspicious fire in 1895 that destroyed the courthouse completely. The town never recovered. It lost its status as county seat and faded into obscurity. These were not random accidents. These fires targeted the exact buildings that held birth records, death records, marriage certificates, land deeds, probate documents. Everything that proves who owned what, who married whom, who was born and when. One researcher called it paper genocide.
Paper genocide. Wow. They're just destroying documents. Man, but that is our government. They like destroying evidence. They like destroying evidence.
Records that would have documented Native American land ownership, mixed race ancestry, property claims that contradicted official narratives. All gone. And in some cases, witnesses reported seeing courthouse employees removing documents before the fire started. Records that now sit in private collections under lock and key, unavailable to the descendants who need them. But even this is not the full picture. Let me take you back to 1870 and show you who suddenly appeared in American records that year. 4 million people. 4 million formerly enslaved Americans who had never been documented by name in any federal census. Before 1870, enslaved people appeared in census records as tick marks, a number in a column, age and gender recorded but no names. The 1850 and 1860 censuses included something called slave schedules, separate documents that listed human beings as property under their enslaver's name. No identities, no family.
Look, that does not scream color. That screams undocumented people now redocumented as slaves. Wow. That could be a lot of people. That could be any color.
Connections, just inventory. Then came 1870, the first census after emancipation, and suddenly 4 million people needed surnames. Some took the names of former enslavers, others chose names that meant something. Freeman, justice, liberty, hope. Names that declared what they had become rather than what they had endured. But here is what complicates the research. The same family might appear with different surnames in 1870 and 1880. A man might use one name for the census and another for church records. Children might carry their mother's chosen name while their father used something different entirely. The fluidity was necessary for survival but devastating for genealogy. An entire population whose documented history begins at the exact same moment, with the exact same confusion.
Yeah, that's why everybody has different names like Buggy and they have these weird little nicknames that they get called. And then if you look on the paperwork, it has little hyphens right there.
Fusion hitting the exact same wall, and they were not alone. If your ancestors came to America before 1820, there is probably no shit manifest documenting their arrival. The federal government did not require passenger lists until the Steerage Act of 1819 took effect in 1820. Before that, immigration records depended entirely on colonial ports, most of which kept incomplete records or none at all. Approximately 80% of white...
So at the ports, they were just letting people in. It wouldn't even, hey, how you doing, Mr. Smith?
Immigrants before 1790 came from British territories and were never documented. The National Archives states this plainly. They do not have passenger lists for vessels arriving before 1820, with only a handful of exceptions. Millions of people who built this country left no paper trail of their arrival. So let me put this together. Before 1870, enslaved Americans had no names in federal records. Before 1820, most immigrants had no arrival documentation. Before 1900, most Americans had no birth certificates. The 1890 census, the one that captured the transition generation in unprecedented detail, was destroyed through fire and then deliberate bureaucratic action. And courthouse fires eliminated local records across 40% of southern counties. Every single type of document that would connect Americans to their pre-1870 ancestry has been compromised, destroyed, or never existed in the first place. Now let me show you who controls what remains. The largest genealogical database in the world is operated by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Their organization, Family Search...
The Latter-day Saints? Interesting.
...maintains the Granite Mountain Records Vault in Utah, a nuclear-proof facility carved into solid rock holding over 2 billion names on microfilm, climate-controlled, earthquake-resistant, designed to survive catastrophe. Why does a church maintain the most comprehensive genealogical archive?
Yeah, why does a church maintain control of that kind of facility? That's a good question.
In human history, because of a doctrine called baptism for the dead. Members trace their ancestry specifically to perform proxy baptisms on deceased relatives, offering them posthumous membership in the faith. The records exist primarily for religious purposes you never consented to. In 2008, the Vatican instructed Catholic parishes worldwide to stop sharing records with Mormon genealogists. In 1995, Jewish groups reached an agreement with the church to stop posthumous baptisms of Holocaust victims.
Jewish. Official. Okay, now we're getting real deep in the hole.
After discovering hundreds of thousands had been baptized without family consent. The controversy continues. Names keep appearing in temple records. Anne Frank, Holocaust survivors, celebrities, politicians. The database grows. And then there is Ancestry, the company most Americans use to trace their family trees, founded by graduates of Brigham Young University. Built initially on digitized LDS publications, now owned by the Blackstone Group, a private equity firm that purchased it for $4.7 billion. Church members receive free access.
And they said Blackstone for a reason. Because if you say rock at the end of that, you could get in trouble.
The company uses LDS records extensively. According to researchers at Harvard, members can send relatives found on Ancestry directly to the church for proxy baptism.
And Ancestry, you know, that one.com, yeah, that right here is all in it too.
With the click of a button. You pay a subscription to find your ancestors. Someone else uses them for religious rituals. I keep returning to a question that bothers me more the longer I sit with it. We are told that record keeping before 1870 was simply less thorough, that governments did not prioritize documentation, that fires happened and records were lost through ordinary misfortune. But the pattern suggests something else. The 1890 census was the first stored without local backup copies. Every previous census from 1790 through 1880 had redundant copies kept at state and county levels. For 1890, everything went to one basement in Washington, one location, one fire, one decision to let damaged records rot for 12 years, one authorization to destroy what remained, one day before the fireproof building opened. Maybe I am seeing patterns where none exist. Maybe 63 million names reduced to 6,000 is just bureaucratic incompetence. Maybe 40% of southern courthouses burning is coincidence. Maybe the fact that every document type connecting Americans to pre-1870 ancestry has been compromised is simply how history works. Messy, incomplete, unfortunate. But I do not think you believe that anymore. I think you are sitting with the same question I have been sitting with for months. If you wanted to disconnect a population from its own history, if you wanted to ensure that people could not trace their origin.
Yeah. Yeah. This is facts right here. Y'all keep your head on a swivel.
Beyond a certain point. If you wanted to create a wall that looked like accident rather than design, what would you do differently than what was done? The records that survived are held in a nuclear-proof vault by a religious organization. The company you pay to access them was built on those same religious archives. The government census that documented the transition generation was destroyed through a combination of fire, neglect, and deliberate authorization. The local record...
Wow. Fire, neglect, and deliberate authorization.
...that might have filled the gaps burned in patterns that researchers have called suspicious for over a century. Your family tree does not start in 1870. That is simply where the paper trail was cut. Everything before that you will have to find another way. The stories your grandmother told, the names she mentioned that do not appear in any database, the places she described that sound nothing like what the history books say existed. Those stories are records too, older than any census, harder to burn. Impossible to authorize for destruction. Someone is still telling them. The question is whether anyone is still writing them down before that generation disappears completely, and whether the next generation will believe them when every official record says otherwise.
All right. Well, it was very insightful. That was actually that was pretty entertaining. Now, I appreciate everybody for coming. You know, it was a great smoke sesh. We got to kick it. You know, we learned a lot today. And tomorrow's gonna be a good day. Remember, we're about to get some sleep. We're about to rest well. You know, we're gonna get whatever we need to get done tomorrow, because today is over. It's about 5 minutes until tomorrow. So, I just want to thank you guys. You guys are real troopers. We're going into the rabbit hole together. You can like, you can share, subscribe if you like. And yeah, we're here. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate it. And tomorrow, it's going to be about 9:30 East Coast time, 6:30 Mountain time. You know, we're going to be doing some new stuff. We're going to go over it. There's going to be a lot of information. Hopefully, we have some good debates. Hopefully, we get some good shorts. If you like any of the short clips from our channel, you can go ahead and share them or whatnot. But we talk that real stuff. We talk about the big stuff, and we try to break it down in a simple way, so that way anybody can understand it. Because a lot of people try to use these big words to confuse us. They want to confuse us, but we have to stand strong, and we have to keep our minds clear. We have to be able to see through the bullshit, because they want us to be in fear. They want us to be needing them. When I say they, it's anybody that is not you. They want you to need them. They want me to need them. And they're mad when we don't. And that's why it's a constant dependency. So we're going to finish up. We're going to get up out of here. Thank you again for coming. You're a winner, and we're going to see this through together.